Well, good day, folks, and welcome back to Pitbull 214. Pitbull 214 is a podcast we started about a year ago, designated for veterans, their families, friends, neighbors, anyone who cares about our vets. We owe them a debt that can never be repaid, but we must do everything that we can to help them out as they try to assimilate back into society after serving for us. We do that by providing information about organizations, functions, opportunities, services, resources, and people that are out there solely for the benefit of our veterans and their families. But most of the time, our veterans don't know about these. There are literally thousands out there. We also like to throw in a war story here and there about true veterans and their stories sharing with other veterans. I find that builds some community amongst the veterans, and some of the veterans are just lonely. And I have some pretty good stories, past and upcoming. So that's really what we do here to help our vets. We are on episode 9. It seems to be picking up more followers. And I thank you folks for that as you spread the word and get it out to vets and anyone who wants to know more about vets and how they can help them. I usually like to start with a little bit about our soldiers in harm's way. They do an amazing job, and as I've said before, they are all volunteers doing it because of their love of our country. So the engagement in Iran is still going on. Don't know how long that's going to take, but as long as that's going on, there are many more soldiers that are vulnerable. And so I ask that everyone just keep them in their thoughts and prayers, and we'll see when we get done that they come home to their families and loved ones and thank them for their service and putting themselves out there. Now, this guest this week is Colonel retired Brian Yolitz. He and I have been dear friends, although we haven't chatted before this for probably 5 or 6 years. Brian and I were both squadron commanders together at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Our families were close, and he's just a good guy. And he, like many vets after he got out, kind of was lost. He didn't have a mission, if you will. He served his whole life, and he wasn't done. And he's going to talk a little bit with us about a program that he found and has changed his life. It's called the Big Fish Foundation, and it may be a program suited for you or someone close to you. So we'll be right back with Brian Yolitz and the Big Fish Foundation. Well, welcome back to Pitbull 214. As I told you, we have a wonderful guest today. And I'll tell you what, when you serve in the military, and everyone I'm talking to knows this, you run into someone on your first assignment, your second, your third. You guys go your own ways, families, kids, and you see them 5, 6 years later, and it's like you never missed a beat. That's just the community that we build in the military, and we learn to depend on each other. This guest is that kind of guy. We were both squadron commanders at Wright-Patterson, and we just did what we could to help each other. He's a good guy. I trust him with my life. And after he got out, he was kind of searching for that next level of service like I was, and he found something that may interest you or somebody you know. So I want to welcome onto the show right now Brian Yolitz. Brian, how are you?
Doing great, Rick. It's so good to get connected again, and look forward to the conversation and follow on conversations as well.
Yeah, Brian and I, this is our second take. The first take went way too long because we're catching up all throughout it. So we're going to try to be a little more streamlined here. And like I said, Brian and I were both squadron commanders. That's about 400 people. Brian went on to become an '06 a colonel. I got out as a major, and then I started at UD, and then I got into politics. But we're both the same. He ended up at the University of Minnesota education system, and I was at University of Dayton, which was like a base and headquarters level all over again. And we had a lot of things in common. So, Brian, what I like to do first off is to give my viewers a little inkling of who you are, where you came from, and maybe what kind of incentive or what events help form who you are. So if you would please, why don't you start when Brian Yolitz growing up in the northeast or Midwest, I guess. What's Minnesota?
We'll call Minnesota Midwest, Minnesota
Okay,
and
okay.
Wisconsin. Yeah, I was born in
Yeah, I know
Wisconsin.
you played hockey, but tell us a
Yeah,
little bit about growing up in your family and your
yeah,
influences.
sure. Yeah, you bet. Grew up in a middle class family. I was born in Wisconsin. We ended up moving to Minnesota for a while. We learned how to play hockey, and that kind of got things started from a sports perspective. Did a lot of hunting and fishing with my dad, my brother, my younger brother, and my sister. We had a cabin in northern Wisconsin. My dad was a Navy vet, so he was enlisted before he met my mom, and they got married. So he went to college on the GI Bill. So he's a beneficiary of that. He got an electrical engineering degree, and we ended up moving to Eau Claire, Wisconsin, where I went to high school, played hockey there, and then went to the University of Wisconsin at Platteville, where I was pursuing a civil engineering degree. Probably one of the formative events was during my junior year. My dad passed away. He was just turned 51, and that really was pretty devastating. It shook me to the core, and the family, and kind of really challenged us in terms of what way going forward. Because the plan was just to be an engineer in Minnesota and Wisconsin and go hunting and fishing, and that wasn't in the cards anymore.
So even though your dad was a Navy man, you had no incentive to go into the military. You were going to stay where you knew you could fish and hunt, and you already had a girlfriend that turns out being your lovely wife.
Yeah, that's right. I was a college student, playing rugby, drinking a few beers, going to the library every once in a while, and working on thermodynamics problems and reinforced concrete classes. So, yeah, and so the military really wasn't on my scope at all. But then, with my dad passing, it was like, okay, looking around, I got to get a job. I can't be a burden on my mom or my brother and sister. She needs to focus on them. And so, the recruiter was cruising the halls of the campus, and I reached out. He had said that he would work a way to get to pay for our last year of college. So there were a couple of us who met with him, and then started having some conversations about how that would work, and then ended up enlisting in the Air Force for a couple of months, and then went to officers training school right after graduating in 1983. Down at Lackland Air
Brian,
Force, Medina Annex. Yeah.
I went through ROTC at Auburn, so I don't understand the OTS system. Why don't you chat a little bit about your experience in officer training school?
Sure. It's another avenue. The academies, service academies, ROTC, and then officers training school, officers candidate school. Kind of like at the time, dating myself a bit, officer and a gentleman was out there. That's wasn't my experience at Air Force officers training school. But, I went there, no knowledge about ranks or Air Force history. I just said, hey, this is my avenue to get a job and stay out of trouble. And, I struggled mightily in the early weeks of officer training school. So they call us a 90-day wonder there. About halfway through that, my flight commander called me in and said, hey, Mr. Yolitz, you really have an inability to adapt to military life, and I really question your ability to pass the program here. So, that was a wake-up call. And so I spent a lot of time bedposted just because I couldn't keep my room up to standards and that kind of stuff. And public speaking was a struggle. So, my flight mates helped me out a bit, and I doubled down, and we ended up graduating and going off to our first duty assignment at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico.
So talk us through your assignments. And by the way, you said your colleagues helped you. That's kind of a theme all the way through this that you and I are used to. Colleagues, we're all competitive, but we're all there to help and have your back. So that started right away. That was a good lesson for you to see because you became one of those fellas that took care of your colleagues and your friends. So then your first assignments in New Mexico coming from Minnesota, that must have been a shock.
Oh yeah, that's the classic recruiter says, "Hey, officers always get your first selection." Let's just say Holloman wasn't even on my list. So this is before the days of cell phones and internet. I didn't even know where Alamogordo, New Mexico was, so I had to go march up to the library when I got the letter in the mail for my orders, and I went right by Annie. It's a funny story, but she said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I didn't even acknowledge her existence because I was trying to figure out where this place was that I was going to take my potential fiance to. So, but all the kind of scratching your head about why New Mexico. But when I got there, the people were terrific, and then just got taken into arms of the people there. And we were all the lieutenants that were there, all the folks were, all in the same boat. We were all away from home, working together, and just really fell in love with that. And that continued, and got an assignment to Alaska after that. And then that really set the hook for us as we got an opportunity to move and experience that whole thing over again in a different setting. And then that just continued. Assignment with you,
And
Rick.
then you were right, Pat, with me,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
was a memory that we both will always have. I didn't keep up with you real clearly after Right, Pat. So you're squadron commander. I think you made LC there. Then you went to DC, right?
Yeah, you're a little bit generous. So I was a captain and made major there, and
My
then went.
bad.
That's
That's right.
okay. No, I like it. Keep it up. So I went off to officers training school, or correction. I went to Air Command and Staff College down at Montgomery, Alabama, after our time there at Wright Pat. And then, after school, obviously the next thing you need to do is go to the Pentagon. So I went there. I was there for 3 years and got a great opportunity to do some interesting stuff. Ended up being the aide de camp to the Air Force Chief of Staff, which was an eye-opening experience about just how the
At
highest
that
levels.
time, Brian.
It was
Who was it?
General Mike Ryan.
Oh yeah,
Just
sure.
just
Okay.
super,
He was
just
well
incredible.
liked.
He's a super gentleman, high
Right.
integrity. I just loved working for him
I
and
never
his
had
family.
the pleasure of working for or with them,
Yeah,
but I've always heard good things about the man.
yeah, exactly. And yeah,
So,
then
so that all worked out well. You retired at what? How many years in?
yeah, 27. So after time in the Pentagon, we ended up on I-95 going up and down the East Coast, Squadron Command at Shaw Air Force Base. Then went to school again at International College of the Armed Forces called ICAF. Went to the Joint Staff, and then went to a Mission Support Group Command at Langley Air Force Base. Ultimately ended up as the Director for Installations at U.S. Air Force's Central Command back at Shaw Air Force Base, but this time at the headquarters with responsibilities throughout the Middle East, all the air bases, all the infrastructure there, civil engineering, contracting, EOD, emergency management and fire protection. All those deployed airmen were governed by my policy, that I oversaw at the headquarters there.
When you got out, you went to the Minnesota um, schools, higher ed, and you were like a headquarters guy, right?
Exactly. So Minnesota's got two public higher ed systems. One's the University of Minnesota, and the other one's used to be called Minnesota State College Universities. And then now they reduced it down to just a Minnesota State. But that's all the state colleges and community and technical colleges. So there's 54 campuses around the state of Minnesota, really serving the communities locally and regional universities. 28 million square feet of space, but really the same kind of job that I did in the military at headquarters. I was like the A7 for the college and university system there in Minnesota. Helped with policy around the design and construction, advocated for funds from the legislature of Minnesota, oversaw the design and construction, oversaw emergency management and planning, environmental management. So it was really, the jobs were the same, and that was what was interesting, is trying to explain to the people that were trying to hire me or looking for to fill that role was that the military is not about just barking orders and saying, "Hey, do this because I'm the ranking guy." It's about leadership. It's about buy-in. It's about building a team. And once they figured out that that there was very similar experiences, they went ahead and hired me. And then I served there for 14 years before retiring in the fall of 2024. Yep, gotta get those years right.
I ended my political career. So, yeah, very successful career, first career, second career. Now you're transitioning to be a real civilian or a retiree, whatever you want now. So, let's talk about, we talk a lot about transitions from the military to civilian world and some of the struggles the families have, the member have. Talk a little bit about that because I think that will lead into Big Fish Foundation and how that helped you kind of find your way. Share that with us, Brian.
Yeah, so leaving the military, you leave this built-in family and with this camaraderie, mission focus, willingness to drop anything and serve, singular focus on the mission. And I missed that. Had that in some points during my experience, in the higher education, but not to the same degree that I saw it in the military, particularly at my last two duties assignments. But as we worked our way through that, it was continue to look for more ways to serve and to get involved in things. And that's what the Big Fish Foundation is offered me now for the last couple of years. But let me back up a little bit and talk a bit about my family in terms of what military service means from my perspective. A lot of times those members that are in the military get accolades for, hey, thank you for your service. And I really check that because I look around and I see, my wife was a professional nurse, registered nurse. Every time we would travel around, she'd get a new job as a nurse, staff nurse on the floor. Then they'd figure out, oh, she's got her stuff together. And oh, by the way, let's make her a charge nurse. And about time she'd start working up to that next level, I'd have to come home and say, hey, we got a new assignment. We're going to go to, you name a place. And so she'd start that process all over again. She'd have a new box on her resume, new location, new hospital, and all that stuff. And the same thing happened with my kids. We would move around, and my kids aren't like are like many other military families. You go to a place, make new friends, but then know that they're not going to be there forever. And we don't have that experience where they grew up and played pop warmer football with everybody, and then they graduated and played middle school or high school or junior high football, went on to high school football. That doesn't happen. My boys would go to a new location, kind of have to fight their way on to a baseball team, ride in the pines a lot, and then all of a sudden they get some recognition that they've got some pretty good skills, make the team, and then start making a name for themselves, and then we'd move again. And so they go back to the bottom of the pecking order. And so those, I think, the family members, our spouses, kids, are really the ones who served. That wore the uniform oftentimes are doing what we love to do, and got to participate in the full and enriching environment of being in the military and the camaraderie and the mission focus and the sense of accomplishment, getting things done. Along with the struggles with getting a new job and applying for new opportunities at different hospitals, there was also the licensure piece for my wife. When every time we'd move state to state, each state had their own rules, had to get another set of transcripts, and then we'd go through the conversations around, hey, is this microbiology sufficient for our state's requirements? And it just got to be really a struggle. And so it would sometimes takes up to a year to get all the right documentation, to get a license in the state. And then we'd be moving within another, 12 months or 18 months and have to start that process all over again. And I know there's been a great progress since we went through that in terms of reciprocity between states. And I know, Rick, you carried some legislation that helped folks in the state of Ohio, and it's super appreciative on behalf of our family, but also on all those that benefit from that. So kudos to you and your colleagues who are able to bring that to bear. Good job. That's
Brian, I
really
think I've
important.
told the audience about that more than once. That
That's
was
okay.
when people asked what my favorite legislation was. It was probably that
Oh,
one
okay.
because that impacted a whole lot of people. And what's interesting about that, Brian, is after the COVID situation, everybody knew that one nurse from one state is as good as the next one. Then it wasn't an issue because they respected that. But before that, somehow they thought a nurse in Ohio was better than a nurse in Indiana. And we just know that that's not true. So, anyways, so yeah, it was a struggle. So, what did that result in? What did you see in the kids and families? And not just yours, but your colleagues.
We've got, we can take this, two different ways. We don't have lifelong, my boys don't have lifelong friends that they've lived with, played with, shared experiences. They got these little bites and pieces across time. However, they have an incredible skill to go just about anywhere at the drop of a hat and make new friends and get involved in things. So there are things that there's pros and cons of a military family. And one of the things that we're most proud of is our boys right now have moved all over the place, up and down the East Coast. Son right now is in Florida, working for L3 Harris as an industrial systems engineer. And then my other son's up in Maryland, a PhD virologist working in national defense. I don't even
Easy
think I
for
have
you
it.
to say.
I think he's got a security clearance better than mine when I left active duty. So super proud of them. But it wasn't without struggle.
Recognizing all that is setting up the Big Fish Foundation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep.
when you got out, there was a struggle to find, hey, where am I gonna? How
Yeah.
can I? Like, because you said your focus, it was singular and it was very, very precise. The mission. Now it's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And go ahead and take us there.
Yeah. So I was, I'd been at the Minnesota State College University system for about, I don't know, maybe 10 years, 8 years. And I was really starting to think about, what's next? And how can I find, like-minded people who are interested in continue to serve? And had heard this guy on some podcasts talking about how veterans and quite frankly all of us are really striving to find better connection, finding opportunities to grow mentally and physically, and then to be of more service. And so I took a risk and participated in a fundraiser for the Big Fish Foundation. I was the Air Force representative as part of an event where veterans and what they call them celebrity athletes get together and they go through a 30-hour ordeal to kind of highlight some of the programmings and mindset that the Big Fish Foundation can bring to veterans to help them connect, to grow, and to serve and be of service to themselves, their families, and their communities. And that experience was incredible. It changed my life when I recognized that there are a lot of people out there who are spring-loaded, wanting to help, wanting to be involved, and have those shared values of hard work and helping each other out, being of service.
Brian, this information for the viewers is going to be on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Big Fish Foundation, and Brian's going to get us some events, and we'll put that in there. And of course, this is a non-for-profit. So if you, after hearing Brian looking it up, care to contribute, there'll be a way to do that here too.
Yeah.
So Brian, one thing I want to make clear here is this is not in one location. This is for everyone throughout the country.
Yeah.
You just have to get to where they're doing this, right?
That's
this
right.
isn't in Minnesota in your backyard, or now in North Carolina in your backyard, right?
No, not at all. If you will, this is a virtual organization, and that's what I think this idea of connection is all about. And, we've got friends that we've connected with in Tennessee, in New Jersey, in Ohio. Great guy named Jason Welsh. He's not even a veteran, but he loves veterans. He owns a CrossFit Cadre up in Houston, Ohio, about 3 hours from where you're sitting, Rick. There's people in Colorado, Idaho, Texas. And we've got this network of the people that are connected and continues to grow, that you can call, text, hey, I just want to check in, see how you're doing, or hey, I'd like to talk with you for a little bit. That network helps people stay
That's
alive.
what we lose when we leave the military.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. Now, when Brian, when you were and I were talking before, you told me a story about when this first event you got there, had no clue what you were going to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
and you latched on to somebody.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So I heard that they needed an Air Force veteran to participate in this event, and I had heard about a 24-hour mindset event that Brian Tosh, Marine Corps veteran, had put together and was offering to people to help them explore kind of their edges of their mindset and of their physical capabilities. But when I landed in Denver, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So it was kind of an interesting car ride with Jeff Case and a couple other folks that took us up to the Butterfly Ranch, they call it, up in Nederland, Colorado. And I, had no idea what I got myself into, and looking around at the people, didn't know anybody. And then I was lucky enough to get partnered with Brista Mayfield, who had been a long time, again, a civilian, loves veterans, and bends over backwards to help them. And so I got partnered with her, and I said, Brista, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I said, I need you to tell me exactly what I need to do. And she turned to me and said, I need you to eat when I tell you to eat, and I need you to drink when I tell you to drink. And I said, yes, ma'am. And we followed off when we were running around the trails, taking on some tasks for about 12 hours together of the 30-hour event. And so I'm just forever grateful to her and the rest of the people that were spring-loaded as we worked our way through the night, were there helping us, whether it was a towel or a drink or a peanut butter jelly sandwich or some pickles or whatever to keep us going. It was just incredible. And being surrounded by that group of people was such an uplifting experience that I've been riding that high ever since.
Brian, I love that story. And that's, again, more of taking care of our colleagues, taking care of our brother or sister. And you're right that that connection is what we lose when we get out of the service. Even in the General Assembly, there was a lot of backstabbing, lying. And I didn't see that. I know it happens in the military too, but it's not as prevalent as far as I'm concerned. So when everything's said and done, how would you synopsize the value of the Big Fish Foundation?
Well, the Big Fish Foundation's really established on kind of this model of preventative maintenance. It's not who you call when somebody's in a crisis, maybe harm themselves or something worse. It's really about what I described as preventative maintenance, giving them some tools to help them be successful in navigating life, whether it's
so they never get to that point because
Yeah.
we're cement heads. We understand preventive maintenance.
Yeah,
Someone
yeah.
might, but trying to preempt the emergency situation,
Yeah.
which we see all the time. What I think the stats are 22 suicides a year or month, a
Yeah.
day. Oh
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
way too many. But
Yep.
if we can get in front of that and catch them when they needed someone to talk to like this,
Yeah.
tell them what they're worth. Yeah, it sounds like a great program.
Yeah, and so really what the Big Fish Foundation does is it creates these what I call intimate opportunities, typically outdoors, living in tents or modest accommodations at times, where veterans can get together, they can connect, and do have some shared experience where they have an opportunity to grow physically and mentally, and then just learn about being of service to themselves and to others and to their communities. And there are so many people out there who are looking to help veterans. I know you've had multiple organizations on your podcast, Rick, and when I was in Minnesota, was part of a network of veterans organizations, and I went to one of their meetings, and they were all begging, "Where are the veterans? We're here. We want to help. Whether it's horses, whether it's whatever. I want to take them fishing. I want to." And so, one of the things that was really impactful at that the first Big Fish event that I went to, was Tosh talked about how people are looking for opportunities to serve. And those of us that are insist on doing it ourselves, I don't need any help. I'm whoever, uh, you know, take a chance and give somebody else the opportunity to serve you so they can fill their cup. And I think about that all the time. It just rung so strongly with me. My wife Annie is such a service-oriented woman. It loves to serve, and I just said, "That's it. That just needs to be applied 100x to everybody around us."
Brian, we're
So,
running out of time, as always. We got so much to talk about. It's a great program. And again, I'm going to have Brian's information there. He would be honored, I think, if you called him, ask him more questions.
yeah.
But it may not be the perfect program for you. It may be a perfect program for one of your colleagues, friends, neighbors. But it's just another one of the wealth of resources we have to help our vets that Brian was talking about. Brian, one more thing I want to ask you. You talked about the spouse's job and the kids. Now, I think you told me that this program also opens a door for military spouses.
Yep. Yeah. So one of the events that the Big Fish Foundation does is called a Veterans Plus One, where we had a get together in Texas. In fact, Andy and I were down there about maybe a month ago. Time flies. We got together with around 74 other folks from various branches of service and experiences, and we got together. Had dinners together, heard some terrific speakers about their experience with the Big Fish Foundation, but then also participated in some courses around understanding resilience and kind of learning a language. So a couple can talk about, hey, I'm having an orange day and I'm having a yellow day, and hey, if this happens, I can kind of go to green. Also, understanding about what your internal motivators are, and then also some a course around breath work, and just some more tools for the couple's toolkit to help them be successful, a better team going forward. And it was just a terrific event, and super feedback on that event. And so we'll do another one of those next year.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe Beck and I can join you guys.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
I think you sent me some pictures of that event, right? We'll put them here.
Yeah, I'll get you. I did not send of that event. I'll
Send
see
me
if
a
I can
few of
find
those.
couple. Yep.
Okay, we'll have some pictures in here as we always do. So listen, we could go on and on, but I think we've given you the meat of what this program, Big Fish Foundation, is designated to do and who it will help. So that you can call Brian, email Brian, or just go to their website, see what's going on. They'll have plenty of other people that can help you too. But now you know Brian, and it's always nice to talk to someone you've seen anyway. If you end up going, let me know, write me, or maybe I can get you on the show. And we could share with others about this. I'll also put this on my website. As I said before, the website will be much more in depth in the programs and resources out there for all vets, much more than I can ever do in a show. Other than that, Brian, boy, thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for your friendship, you and Annie. Thank you for everything you've done to our troops. And when you get by, we'll talk more about stories.
Yeah.
I have one funny one. When I was running for office, we had a sign on 35 by Lafino
Yep.
Plaza,
Yep.
and it was on a hill, the peak of a hill. And I had one of our troops, I couldn't even remember. He wrote me, and he said he was driving to work going west, went up the hill, saw my big old ass picture there, and spilt his coffee all over him.
That's
But
awesome.
they're all over here, of course, because that's where you and I were the commander there.
Yep.
So, yeah, I just thank you for everything you do. And I also want to thank all your colleagues out of the Big Fish Foundation for what they do. That is the service at its best. And it's one of those things where you can't quantify the people you've helped. The people that haven't committed suicide, the people that haven't done something stupid because they had somebody to talk and they had the tools that they were taught at Big Fish Foundation. Any last words, Brian?
Yeah, two things real quick, Rick. First of all, just a couple of events, people want to watch on the social media. I know you'll put that on there.
And we'll
on
have it right
Instagram-
there. Yes,
on
sir.
Instagram and stuff. But
Yes.
one is our 7th annual challenge and fundraiser. That was the event that I participated in. More importantly, we're doing another one this June 18th through the 21st out of Netherland, Colorado. You can kind of watch along on the social media, particularly Instagram. So look for that and cheer along your favorite athlete or your favorite veteran, and opportunities there to help Big Fish continue to provide programming for our veterans. The other one is a benefit dinner down in Wetterland, Texas. That's going to be October 17th. Again, more details on that will be coming out in a social media piece, but would ask you to watch for those. And if you go back in the Instagram history, there's a lot of good stuff in there. You get a sense of what the Big Fish Foundation's about. And then, Rick, I really got to thank you. This was been a terrific opportunity to reconnect. Our time at Wright-Patterson together, your service in the legislature, and now your continued service to veterans locally and now across the nation. I'd really encourage veterans and their family and friends to take a chance and reach out to one of these organizations, reach out to Rick, and give them a chance if you want to participate in one of these things. And I'd ask you to think about how are you going to be a big fish today.
Brian, great time, my friend. So for the audience out there, I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll be right back to conclude with this program. Pitbull out. Well, I hope you enjoyed that podcast as much as I did. Brian is just a tremendous person. Him and his wife, Annie, and the boys and now grandson, just great people. I think it's interesting that since I've started this podcast, two things have come up that I didn't expect. One was how much this podcast means to the people I interview. It's almost like it's a legacy for them that they can leave for their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And that pleases me. I'm really happy with that they get that much value out of this. The other thing that was interesting that I did not expect was I know all these people. I know many of these people, excuse me. I know many of these people well. But I always learn more and more about these folks that I never anticipated. In this case, Brian struggled through officer training and never would have expected that. He was just the poster boy for a civil engineer officer when I knew him. So very interesting. And I thank Brian for sharing. The Big Fish Foundation it seems to be a perfect fit for him, and it may be for you or someone that could use them. There are literally thousands of these type of programs out there, and you just need to find the one that fits you or your spouse or the loved one. And this may be it. Brian really swears by it, and I'm going to try to get out there and do one of their programs with them as well. So thank you much. Now, as I've said many times before, the only reason this works is because of you folks. I thank you for your viewership, and I also thank you for getting the word out. Our numbers are getting bigger and more people are listening to it, and it's getting to more vets, and that's what this is all about. So we thank you about that. And again, I remind you and ask you if you have any programs that would fit this organization, services, resources, or if you know of vets that have a very unique, entertaining, informative type of message, this war story, if you will, let me know. I'll take it from there and contact them and see if they're willing to be on. We have probably a list of 10 interviewees that I'm going to get to, but we're going to continuously backfill those. Again, I want to talk about the website. Thank you to Craig Johnson for developing it. It's going to have more and more information. Like I have mentioned before, we're going to have the schedule of the upcoming podcast on there now, besides the resources. And I think you'll find that it'll take you to the next level in identifying support areas for our vets. I'm really excited about that getting out. I'm also excited about the fact that just last week we joined Green Given Foundation as an affiliate, so now we are a nonprofit, and you'll probably see the barcode up there. Again, I just want to let you know that this is not for making money. This is for cost of running a program like this, and you'd be surprised that it does cost some. And I want to be able to give my viewers, my audience, the best that's out there. So we'll talk more about that later. The next video, the next podcast, item 10, podcast episode 10, is a gentleman, retired Colonel Daryl Whitcomb. He flew A-01s in Vietnam, and he has a story to tell. As a matter of fact, this is Daryl's book. Thank you for sending it and signing it, Daryl. I appreciate it. And it's a real story of the rescue of Bat 21. Just as a little background, there's a few pictures coming up. The Ravens was a name for the pilots that were CIA sponsored. They were on the wrong side of the DMV, and it was all clandestine. And a story of bravery, a story of people putting it out there on the edge. And most people think of the fighter pilots as the heroes. When you hear this story, it might change your mind a little bit. So Daryl's going to share some episodes that occurred there, and just a little bit on what he learned and his philosophy after serving in Vietnam. And it is a good story, so I hope you can join me. Lastly, I want to say I'm going to start a little bit something different at the end, where I've got a lot of people helping me with the podcast. It's one of those things that you can't do by yourself. And when they're with me and I'm doing an episode taping, I'm going to bring them on for a minute or two and let them introduce themselves and what vets mean to them. Some of them are vets. Most of them aren't, but they still respect and are very thankful for vets and what they do. So that's the show for today. Thank you for joining me. God bless you and your family. Most of all, God be with our soldiers and get them home safely. With that, I'm Pitbull and I'm out.
Coming to an end. Don't let it scare you out of living. Look at me, mom, against all odds. A little baby boy did it. Escape poverty, did it. Hit the lottery, did it. I let all these boys do the rapping. Me, I'm a man of my word, I live it. Every day I say thank you. Every day I give thanks. Every day's Thanksgiving. Living is giving. Introduce NASCAR to a new culture. Winning every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every year. I'm here. Just live your life like Frank Sinatra your way and have no fear. Now, never. I ain't gonna live forever. That's right. I just wanna live. It's my life. Yes, sir. Frankie said I did it. We did it all way, baby. I just wanna live. It's my life.